1. We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It is just me today. I do apologize. Miguel is unable to join me for the podcast this week, but no worries. He is going to be back next week. Couple things to talk about. Obviously, the box office. We got an update on how Millie Bobby Brown views Stranger Things, and Michael Cera, his future after Barbie, and what he plans on doing. We got all that coming up in this episode. But if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@ourrealaddiction. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button on all the videos, and the bell notification so you can stay up to date on every single episode and every single video that we drop on the YouTube channel, because you want to stay up to date. We do some pretty good work here. But if you haven't already, check out Movie News Monday, where I talked about James Gunn's DC being a mess yet again. We do have an update on it at the time of me recording this episode. Another update regarding James Gunn's DC universe. That's the third in the last week that has really just not sat well with me. But I'm going to leave that for a possible Blue Beetle review. And also, check out Miguel's episode of TV Inquiry, where he talked about Little Murders in the Building and Heartstopper on Netflix. So go check that out, because he gave us an awesome video of him, just how he feels about those TV shows. So, and if you're listening, you should check out the video, because we have a lot more, I guess you can say, animation, in terms of we have little visuals during these episodes when you're watching as opposed to listening. But we're going to jump right into it. We're going to jump right into the box office. So this is for the week of August 11th through August 13th. Coming in at number 5 is The Voyage of Detamar, making $6.5 million. If you don't know what that is essentially Dracula on a cruise ship. I haven't heard any reviews on it, but since then it has made $7.1 million. That's its grand total, all of it being domestic. I do want to check it out. It does look very, very interesting. I don't know anybody who has seen it yet. I don't know if Miguel had the chance to go see it. But I definitely do have interest in it. But yeah, coming in at number 4 is The Meg 2, The Trench, making $12.8 million, bringing its grand total up to $259 million, 55 of that being domestic and 204 of that being international. At this point, it is going to outperform Indiana Jones, unfortunately, and The Dial. Super unfortunate. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, making $15.3 million, bringing the grand total up to $96 million. 74 of that being domestic and 21 of that being international. If you haven't already, I would suggest going to check out this film. It was so fantastic. Yes, it was a kids' film, but there are some interactions in this film that are meant for adults. It's awesome. It's such an awesome film. I enjoyed it so much. I really want to get back out to the theater to see this, but it's super awesome. It's got a stacked cast. John Cena's in it. Seth Rogen's in it. Obviously, he produced it. Jackie Chan is in it. Even Paul Rudd's in it. It's such a great cast. And I know Miguel and I talked a little bit about it, but it's super awesome. If you are tired of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I don't see how you could be, I feel like this would help you itch something in that same style of animation. I know that style of animation is kind of popular right now among Hollywood. So if you're looking for something that is similar to the animation of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, this is definitely your film. I would suggest checking it out, because, yeah, again, it's a kid's film, but I think it is ultimately great, a fantastic film. Coming in at number 2 with I don't want to say with no surprise, some surprise I guess you can say, is Oppenheimer, making $18.8 million, bringing its grand total up to $650 million worldwide, 266 of that being domestic and 383 of that being international. I think it just cracked the top 10 of highest grossing rated R films of all time. I know Joker's sitting up there at like $1.074 billion, and I know Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 1 are up there as well. So I can see. I think Deadpool 1 and 2 are in the 700 million. This film would definitely beat it, especially with the extra push it's having with the IMAX 70 millimeter showings that it got getting extended. Yeah, if you haven't already, I would suggest checking this film out and check out our review on it, because the review, we definitely go into it. Fantastic film. The only reason I say it's a little bit somewhat surprising is, one, because we've had films come out that have been great. Maybe not enough to push out a film like this or a film like Barbie out of the first place spot at the box office. But the fact that it's still making money and it's probably going to cap out at I would have to say maybe about, 800 million for Christopher Nolan. And the fact that some theaters who have the capability of showing it in 70 millimeter IMAX are booting it out so that they can show it, so that they can have this over Blue Beetle. I mean, it goes to show. I would definitely suggest checking it out if you already haven't, because it's an intense true story about the creation and the development of the atomic bomb. But yeah, currently sitting at 650 million worldwide, and coming in at number 1 again, also with no surprise, being Barbie, making $33.8 million. We do now know that is officially over the $1 billion mark. It's currently sitting at 1.1 billion. It's going to reach 1.2 at any moment. Probably already has by the time of the release of this episode. And I think it also just cracked the top 20 highest grossing films of all time, and I believe it has its eyes set on Harry Potter, the Harry Potter franchise. So, hey, Barbie outperforming what both Miguel and I again thought it would be. Again, domestically it is sitting at $531 million, and internationally $660 million worldwide. For me personally, no shocks at the box office. I think with Miguel, he probably wouldn't have a shocker that Barbie and Oppenheimer are at the top again. I'm glad to see that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem got some love there. Also to see the Last Voyage of Dedemer in there as well. It's super, super awesome. Curious as to what was number 6, Haunted Mansion, which is the flop for Disney. Only making $53 million $53 million worldwide, making $5 million. It's just like unfortunately, Haunted Mansion really, really cursed. Talk to Me also never cracked the top 5 as well, in its like second or third week of being out, which is unfortunate because I've heard a lot of good reviews on it that made $5.1 million, taking the 7th spot, bringing it up to $31 million. But you know what? I guess a little shocker to me would be the Meg. I know people have enjoyed it. I had a customer come in at Geek Squad when I was working there the other day, asking if I was going to see the Meg randomly, not knowing that I'm into movies. Saying they were really interested in it, and they actually wanted to buy it on digital or watch it digitally. They didn't know it was only in theater. It was exclusively in theaters, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I mean, the Meg getting some love from people. Surprise. I mean, I have no interest in seeing it. But I guess that would be the shocker for me. And I'm definitely gonna have to get out to seeing The Last Voyage of Dedemer. I'm going to move on to the first topic, which is going to be taken out of context. If you've seen the thumbnail, you probably have an idea of what this topic is, because in the thumbnail, it is Millie Bobby Brown as 11 saying that I hate Stranger Things with a bubble. So Millie Bobby Brown recently talked to Women's Wear Daily, and she talked about things in this interview about her wedding, her first fragrance coming out, and the end of Stranger Things. She goes on to say that she's kind of ready for it to end. Okay, so she was asked about the ending of Stranger Things and asked if she was ready to end. She responds with, "I think I'm ready. It's been such a huge factor in the part of my life, but it's like graduating high school. It's like senior year," she says. "You're ready to go and blossom and flourish, and you're grateful for the time you've had, but it's time to create your own message and live your own life." I completely understand where she's coming from. I know a lot of fans of Stranger Things. I feel like they're going to be taking this out of context. Me being one of those fans, just because obviously I made a clickbait thumbnail for everybody to click on. So, yeah, no, but in all honesty, I completely get what she means by the sense of like it's graduating high school. When you've been attached to a project like that for such a long time, for the probably coming on close to like 8 years, when 2016. So by the time the show wraps, it's going to be roughly about 10 years committed to Stranger Things. That's a long time to be committed to a TV show franchise. Especially something like Netflix that loves to cancel all of its series. Obviously, Stranger Things is a little different in that case, considering it is the most popular TV show that Netflix has ever had. But I remember at least when I was graduating high school, I was like super happy to be graduating and ready to move on and kind of see the world and what the world had to offer me. So I understand where she's coming from in the sense of like, it's like graduating that. Obviously her graduating high school is a lot different from me graduating high school. But I mean, I don't think it's like she hates Stranger Things, even though that's what I put in the thumbnail. But I can agree more. She wants to go on and do other things. I feel like she hasn't really been able to kind of commit to anything, just because she probably has fulfillment in the contract for Stranger Things, and probably has to kind of take jobs or take roles with a cause. Obviously, she probably can't take much considering the SAG-AFTRA strike. The interview does note that it was conducted before the strike had begun. But I mean, it's just, I feel like I could agree. I want actors and actresses to move on from these big projects at some point. Like for perfect examples, like Robert Downey Jr. leaving like the Avengers franchise, or the Marvel the MCU. You know, it's just like, yeah, like, did we want to see him go and see his character die? No, of course not. But that was realistically like the only thing left for him to do. He had done everything. His last film was him creating time travel and essentially saving the universe from Thanos and erasing that. But it's like in the sense of this, and I know I've talked about it. The only thing left for 11 to do is essentially die in the film, in the show. That's how I see fit for this character to end. Just because there's no way I can see her living a normal life. I think Millie Bobby Brown is also aware of that. Or at least be the creator of now the new, a quote unquote owner or overseer of the Upside Down. Even if they end the show and she doesn't die, I think that's fine as well, because let's be honest, at some point I feel like Netflix is going to want to do a reboot. Characters love to return to old projects or original projects that they've done years and years later. So if they do something in, like, let's just say 10, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, like, I think that'd be super awesome. Where, heck, if they're the parents and their kids are now experiencing it, and we're seeing the Upside Down happen in like this future era of where there's, now they're in the future as opposed to the 80s. It's more 2023. It's taking place in 2023 than it is actually taking place in the 80s and the 90s, where the final season is rumored to take place. I think that'd be super cool. in like 20, 30 years that they do it, or 15, 20 years that they're doing it back in the past again. And we kind of revisit the 20s, the 2010s and the 2020s, in Stranger Things, and kind of reflect on that. You can even do a pandemic season if you were to ever do a reunion for Stranger Things. But yeah, I mean, hey, I think that's great that she wants to move on from it. And, like, in all honesty, I feel like her coworkers and her colleagues on Stranger Things probably feel the same way. They want to move on and they want to do other things with their career. At least I would hope they want to, but if they don't, I mean, hats off to them. But it's just like, we know Stranger Things is coming to an end with season 5. I know the Duffer Brothers, they don't see the show going past that, and I know they said maybe 5 to 6, but I think they are set on 5, especially with how much longer it takes to get a season out now. But again, I hope this isn't taken out of context. I'm pretty sure some people will. Some people will be very sensitive about this, saying she's ready for it to end. But yeah, I mean, hey, good for her. Hats off to her. I want to see her. I want to see what else she can do other than just stick up her hand and talk very awkwardly in a show. I want to see her range. I want to see what she can do, because I'm sure she's got talent that she can show the world, give us the acting capabilities that she's able to do. For the final topic, I think this is pretty awesome. Michael Cera recently talked to Decider.com, and the article is titled "Let the Michael Cera rants begin again." If bread makes you fat, and this is what the article writes, if bread makes you fat, then chew on this. Michael Cera is back in 2023. Still awkward, still charming, and still arguably bigger than ever. The actor who dominated the mumblecore and the awkward teen/young adult genres with the infamous 4-year streak from 2007 to 2010, which we saw the release of Superbad, Juno, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and Scott Pilgrim's vs. the World, has never really gone away over the last 2 decades. But still, in 2023, ushering in the realm of new opportunity. With his Black Mirror cameo and Roland Barbie leaving audiences craving more, Michael Cera is returning to independent comedy scene this year with an intimate release of Dustin Guy's Defa the Adults, followed by A24's Dream Scenario, and his highly anticipated return to the Scott Pilgrim universe with Scott Pilgrim the Anime. The late 2000s might have been legendary, but 2023 has the chance to bring Michael Cera to another level entirely. Despite the busy year, to Cera, it doesn't feel as though he has had to balance all these different roles in a short period of time. He actually said it's all felt very far apart due to the adults filming 2 years ago in 2021. All the way things shape up always leaves a lot of time, he told Decider in June of 2023. Of course, ahead of the SAG-AFTRA strike. A lot of the interviews coming out, guys, I think there is that they are going to say they were taking place prior to the strike. I don't know how true that is. I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to be, but who really knows. All right. In the article, he goes on to say Cera told the Decider he is currently developing a project to direct and is working on getting financing for it. Though the exact details are currently under the wraps, he teased it's like a family story. I don't know how to describe it. It's mysterious. With 8 upcoming projects and his eyes set on a first major directorial project, Michael Cera is ready to define a new world of era for new era of movies and for a whole generation to fall in love. Oh, excuse me, Fallen Lesbians. If you don't know why it ends in with lesbians, obviously that's a Michael Scott Pilgrim versus the World reference where he tells Mary Elizabeth Winstead, obviously his girlfriend, I'm in lesbians with you. It's a super funny exchange of dialogue in that film. But I think that's pretty cool that he has his eyes set on doing directing work. Obviously, we saw Jonah Hill do Midsummer, or not Midsummer, excuse me, mid-90s, which I think is cool, which had Sonny Seljuk, which is, if you don't know, that's the voice of Atreus from the God of War games. But I think for him to say it's like a comedy, Michael Cera to say it's like a comedy story, I don't know how to describe it. It's mysterious. I don't know if he's saying that necessarily the film is mysterious. Maybe he's trying to be mysterious with, like, he doesn't want to give away too much of the plot, or, you know, maybe it's in early development where he doesn't really know where this story is going, or he hasn't really developed these characters, and he hasn't really developed, you know, much of this world that he's going to create within this this quote unquote family story that he is developing. I think it's super awesome that he's heading into directing, and, you know, panning and finding himself behind the camera. I think that's always something cool for actors to go and do. Obviously, we've seen like you know, Angelina Jolie do it. Obviously, we've seen the dad from Insidious do it. I'm blanking on his name right now. But, you know, it's just like, we've seen so many actors and actresses, you know, want to helm a film and actually call themselves directors. You know, one of the biggest things is like seeing Jordan Peele do it, where he took the jump completely from comedy to directing horror films or mysterious thriller films. You know, it's just like, I think it's such an awesome thing, and I think, you know, it's just like, it's going to be interesting to see how he does, it pans out as a director. I'm sure it's years away. You know, probably 2 to 3 years away that he's actually going to be able to release his film, depending on, you know, the budget of this film, how big he sees this film doing. I mean, at least with Jonah Hill, you know, he didn't have that big of a cast when he did the film. Obviously, at the time, Alexa Deming wasn't all that big. Doesn't have the household name that she probably does now. You know, and it's just like, so if he takes that same route, I think we can obviously see it a lot sooner than 2 to 3 years, maybe 2 years, a year and a half. I think it's pretty awesome though that he's going into it. The fact that he's like, hey, it's mysterious again, doesn't know how to describe it. It's mysterious. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll be excited to see it. Obviously, like, I was excited to see mid 90s. Great film. Excited to see his work. I want to see how he pans out as a director. But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to do it for the episode, guys. If you already haven't, again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. It's youtube.com/@ourrealaddiction. And make sure you hit the bell notification to stay up to date on all our latest videos. And you can find this podcast, obviously, on any podcast streaming service, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Obviously, you can definitely find it. But again, as always, I'm Adam, and this has been Our Real Addiction. Sick Harvest.